You got it?
No, I'm gonna let you open up.
Time.
Whenever you're ready.
You on?
Yeah.
So, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to
Yahweh, by Hashem,
Yahushai,
by Hashem, Kakadash.
Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to Achimath in the four corners of the earth. Prophesying, bringing it out. This is Dr. Raquel Mott here with the brother
Iraq, Shalom.
of the gym at Dallas Camp. Coming at you with a quick lesson, Lord willing, edifying unto the hopeful elect. And this isn't going to be a long lesson, but it's keeping the main thing. Everything that we have been taught, and we have read, everything's coming to pass. Everything that Yahweh Shai has mentioned in His Word, we have the eyesight to see and know that all these things are coming into fruition. The wars and rumors of wars, the earthquakes in diverse places, the fires, everything that Yahweh Shai has said that's going to happen in these days to come. All right, we are witnessing it, and we can't forget one of those main prophecies is starting to pop off the page, and that's the MOTB, and then World War III as well. But with all that said, this is just the admonishment for bros to be in the mindset of just keeping Salakia, keeping the main thing to be the main thing.
I got a precept.
Cut.
This is Ecclesiastes 3:1. It says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven or under the heaven." All right, just going into the main idea of the lesson, trusting the process.
Cut.
Like case in point, we have the seasons, all right, on the earth. All right, spring, summer, fall, and winter. And each season is drastically different, but we know that it's a part of the process as a whole, which is to produce life.
Cut.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something you got to think about when you're going through the various seasons and tribulations, ups and downs, highs and lows in spirit. You got to understand that it's all a part of the bigger picture.
Cut.
You know what I'm saying?
And even speaking on the seasons, the seasons are what? Spring, summer, fall, winter, right? Spring, new life, fruit grows, nourishment from different plants are there, edible and good for man. Mm-hmm. All right, that's summer. It goes into a changing period. Yes, it's hot, but it's for other fruit to blossom. And then fall, everything goes into a hibernation period, especially for winter, because there's nothing alive, but the cycle replenishes and continues, just like life upon the earth, life in this truth. You can't let things weigh you down, in life. So you gotta trust Yahweh Shai's process. All right, because like Esau, it was his time to rule. Back in the olden days, he actually had 2 periods to rule, back then and right now. This is his, period. All right, but it was a counterbalance to what we needed to do, because we messed up. Since we messed up, we were put in that position to where we had to rethink ourselves during his reign. All right, and yeah, he took control of the whole earth, you know, and called it Yahweh Shai. The Most High didn't leave us, you know, comfortless. You know, he didn't leave us, you know, without direction. All right, and our main direction was to focus upon him. Okay, but Salakia.
I just had an opening precept for you, bro.
Yeah.
You
got it.
You got you. I have another one if you want, but I want to get the precepts you have. You know what I'm saying?
You got it.
This is Proverbs 3 and 5. I don't know if you already had this on deck. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding." You want to pick on it?
Because if we can't lean upon what we want, all right, we need to have Yahweh Shai in the forefront, you know, always. You know, I wanted you to pull that Sirach 34. Well, it's like that Joshua 1 and 9. You know, I'm just going to get straight to the point. You know, because the Most High set it up purposely. You know, he has commanded us to be of good courage. All right, he has commanded us to be, you know, strong mentally, you know, physically, you know, and bear the weight, you know, of this existence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you got it out.
Joshua 1 and 9. It says, "Have I not commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For Yahweh, thy power is with thee, whithersoever thou goest."
You know, so because Yahweh Shai, you know, through this whole existence of being over here in Babylon the Great, you know, you see Holy El popping off all around you. You know, with these laws, you know, that they're passing, that LGBT, you know, they are setting up a system, you know, right now for the MOTB to be fully implemented.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and with you seeing that, and you're seeing people, you know, lose their minds because they don't know where to go.
They don't have any hope.
They don't have any hope, you know. But Yahweh Shai, he has given us courage. He has given us, you know, the things necessary in order to contend for the faith. All right.
Yeah, because the Lord's not going to tell you. The Lord's not going to tell you to be strong and to be of good courage if that's not already in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Lord created us to be strong.
Uh-huh.
You know, like they used to say with the Ford F-150, the Ford truck commercials.
Ford Tough.
Built Ford Tough. Like, you read the scriptures, just look at the history of our people.
Yeah.
Look at the fact that we're still here despite the Lord putting the holy hell. All right, now ultimately it was prophecy for the remnant to be preserved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. But still, we've endured, we went through the process that Yahweh Shem Shah intended to put us through.
Yeah.
You know? So there's hope.
And that tempered us. That made us strong. You know, Baba Kushai, pull that Sirach 2 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Baba Kushai. If you don't have anything.
Okay.
And then we can get that Luke 12 and 32. After that. Yeah.
What verse did you want?
10. You know, looking at the generations of old, just like you said, you know, because as we look back, you know, we see these mighty men, you know, though they went through it, you know, they left a message for us to go through in these times. You know.
Sirach 2 and 10?
Yeah.
Just Sirach 2 and 10, it says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
So that shows that Yahweh Shemel Shai is always with us, and he is maintaining our minds as we're going through this word, or this word, and as we're going through this world. He's allowing us to, Salakia,
Let me read again.
Baba Shai.
Come. It's just Sirach 2 and 10. It says, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
So that means that Yahweh Shai never despised anyone that called upon him. He actually sought for their betterment. Because that Luke chapter 12 verse 32 goes into that same thing. How it's Yahweh Shemel Shai's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. All right, and with that, the men of old knew that. They never faltered, so why should we falter in these times? But
Luke 12.
Baba Shai.
This is Luke 12 and 32. It says, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
It is our Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. All right, so just like Esau had his time to reign, he had his kingdom for this minute period of time. All right, Yahweh Shemel Shai wants us to give us eternity. He wants us to have eternity, but we have to get through this little season, and with that, we're trusting his process, because everything that happened in him, comes to fruition. All right.
Yep. That's actually a point that the Elder Yashawamba, the elders were making here in GMS Dallas at their last camp. They were going into the fact that the Lord has given all these heathen kingdoms, right? These other heathens that Jake want to save so goddamn bad, right? They already got kingdoms.
Yep.
And during their sovereignty, they decided, all right, or they joined hands with Esau.
Yep.
Psalms 83. The Lord used Esau as a catalyst, right? As an influence, basically to show how fucking off the heathen are.
Yep.
And how much they need to be ruled over and governed. So like you're saying, like Jake tuning in, you know what I mean? Or for, whoever. The Lord intended us to rule. That's something you got to always remember, even though we're in our lowest state. I got a quick one, if I may, real quick, man. This is Isaiah chapter 1. All right, he sparked a nerve. Damn, my blue letter is tripping. Let me see real quick. Let me pull Isaiah 1. Just give me 1 second. I know it's in here. My blue letter not loading. This is Isaiah chapter 1. And it says, verse. This is what I want. Where is a homeborn slave? Where is that?
Is Israel a homeborn slave?
Yeah, that's Isaiah 1.
I thought it was Jeremiah.
It's in Jeremiah?
Jeremiah 2. 2.
Yeah, Jeremiah 2 and 14. It says, the water. It says, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Just going into the point. Okay, and the Lord is being, that's a rhetorical question. Meaning that's a question that you're supposed to already know the answer to. And the answer is no. Yes, we're under the curses, right? Yes, the Lord is basically humiliating us, putting us through the humiliation process, which goes into your lesson, right? But it's just a process.
Yeah.
It's not who we are. It's who we're being. It's who we are, and it's who Yahweh Shemashah is making us to be. Okay? But you got it.
Because that word trust, trust can be physical. It can be monetary. As someone that's holding on to a possession for you. Like banks have trust.
Right.
Or you can put a company under a trust.
Right.
All right.
Or like you said, physical. You sit in a chair and you trust that the chair is gonna hold you up.
Yeah. And that breeds confidence.
Right.
Because with confidence, we know that this is going to come to pass. We know that Yahweh Shemiah Shai is going to give us the kingdom. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we're going to be in rulership. Through Yahweh Shai, King David, the 144,000, and the 1/3. That great multitude.
Yep.
We know that this is going to happen. We just gotta trust His process, and His time frame it'll all even out. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of trust is protection. So as we're waiting, confidently for His help, He's going to protect us and make sure that we get that trust.
Right.
Make sure we get the kingdom.
Yep. Scriptures liken us to gold being tried in the fire.
Yep.
Right. If you strike, like, you gotta think about it like practically. You know what I'm saying? If you strike gold, right? You buy some land, you get blessed, and you get all this acreage, and you happen to find gold on your land. You're gonna protect. Not only are you gonna protect that land, but you're gonna protect that particular area, that spot.
Yep.
All right, and the deeper you get, right? Because when you actually get the ore, what, you just gonna let the ore just chill anywhere? You're gonna let it? Nah, you're gonna. That's gonna be protected.
Yeah.
And as it gets refined, it's gonna be protected even more because
it's pure.
It's pure, and gold is a desirable asset, substance that everybody wants. They call it God's money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And through the Spirit, right? The elect, right?
That's God's money.
That's the precious jewels.
Yes, precious jewels.
Right? Everybody really wants the elect. Technically, that's like when you read about the prophet Daniel, right? And you read about the noble seed of King David that was taken by the Babylonians. They were like, man, they on point.
Yeah.
Daniel reigned as a hand of the king basically for decades. When you go into the history.
And before that, Daniel was a prophet.
Yep.
And a prophet's over a king.
Right.
Power wise.
Right.
Power wise, the prophets are over kings. But here in the nation of Israel, we are all kings and priests. The elect, the 144,000.
Mm-hmm. May I get something for you? It goes into the lesson. And if you want to speak on it, you can. I got a precept and I got a definition.
You got that.
This is Romans 8 and verse 28. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh Shemiah Shai, to them who are called according to His purpose. And I want to highlight that phrase, work together, right? Because we're talking about process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you get this word work together, it's Strong's G4903, synergeo. And
synergy.
Right. And if you want to interject at any time, Bob,
oh, you got it.
I'm just gonna read any of it, and if anything comes to mind, you got it. This is the word synergeo, which is where synergy comes from. And I'm gonna look that up. I'm tempted, but it says to work together, to help in work, to be partner in labor. It says to put forth power together with, and thereby to assist.
Yeah.
So this process is really assisting us. It's helping us get to a particular point.
Yeah. And that's what Yahweh Shai does. He is because he's doing the bulk of the heavy lifting.
Right.
He's doing the heavy lifting, but he's like, okay, since you see me do it and you're applying yourself to it, you're doing it too. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and whenever you said synergy, it automatically took me to the herbs. All right? Because there's several herbs that's good to pair together, because it counterbalances each other. Mm-hmm. And what's that? The Most High hates a false balance. Mm-hmm. All right, so like just to say, ashwagandha and yellow dock root, mm-hmm. Ashwagandha, yellow dock root, and astragalus. Those are three powerful herbs separate mm-hmm. by themselves. But whenever you combine them together, they can do masterful things in your body.
Right.
All right, but
right. You even have that in the plant world, like tomato and basil.
Yep, tomato and basil.
There's synergy there. They benefit one another.
Yep.
They work together.
Mm-hmm.
The basil keep away insects that would otherwise eat up the tomato. Yep. I have the definition of the word synergy as well. It says a mutually advantageous conjunction of compatibility. Big words.
Yeah.
Esau. It says a mutually advantageous conjunction or compatibility of distinct business participants or elements, such as resources or efforts.
Mm.
So
Yahweh Shai is the compatible part in the making of this kingdom. All right. So as you're trusting the process, you're trusting His will. Okay.
Right.
As you're trusting His will, you're doing the things necessary to continue to walk. All right. Because as we look around us, this world is falling apart on all sides.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We see these other camps. They wilding the fuck out. They were wilding out.
True.
General Yana only shows up to the sandwich day, but yet he doesn't defend the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
All these like Nate. When was the last time you saw him on the corners? When was the last time you saw him on the streets? All right.
Right.
Like our apostles and elders go out every week.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly edifying. Do you not see the joy in that? But all these other camps don't got it. These Christians don't got it. They're trying to remanufacture our videos to make it say something that it's not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But
mm-hmm.
we gotta trust the process, man.
Yep.
All this other shit, all this, sorry for my speech. All this other stuff that's going on in this world isn't conducive, to what Yahweh Shai has for us.
Mm-hmm.
But you got it out.
I'm going to read this. There's more on this dictionary.com or Merriam-Webster on synergy. I might do a whole lesson on this. It says, an old saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Ooh.
Right? Like with a car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have a nice ass steering wheel, right? But it's still just a steering wheel without all the other pieces.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like your engine is like, on point, but your transmission is trash.
Right.
Come on now, bro.
Right. Both need to be fleeked up.
Yeah.
Both need to be on point.
You got it.
It says, an old saying, this whole is greater than the sum of its parts, expresses the basic meaning of synergy. The word is sometimes used in purely physical sense, like you made that point. It says, especially when talking about drugs, sometimes a cocktail of drugs, may be more effective than the sum. You can sub herbs for where it says drugs right there. It says, then the sum of effectiveness of each of the separate herbs.
Yeah.
But the word is best known in the world of business. The notion that when the two right companies merge, they'll produce a profitable synergy.
Yeah, and that's that business sense. just to make money.
Mhm.
All right, but like this is conducive to life. You know, because Al Shai wants to give us the kingdom, and that's the synergy that will reign forever.
Yeah.
Right.
The Father's business.
Boom.
Which is basically you got like kind of like you have parent company.
Yep.
But then you have companies under that umbrella,
Yep.
and then you got franchises. So like a McDonald's location, or you know what I mean. Like you got your independent stores that are all part of one business. At the end of the day,
but
that's what we are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, we are soldiers, officers, elders, elder apostles. We all is speaking the same thing.
Right.
All right. And since we're all speaking the same thing, we're all going to get the same reward. Okay. You know, and that's the kingdom. Because we're all part of Yahweh Shai's message.
That's it.
But you got it.
You can close it off if you're done.
All right. Hey, but the wonderful listening, you know, to those that tuned in. So with that, you know, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakwadash.
That will honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Akimak on the four corners, teaching truth, sincerity. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.